Well, I want to get into really fear today, and I've talked about this before, but I think it's important because, fear, you might say, well, fear is a strong word, but I think a lot of our problems in life really come out of a sense of inadequacy, a sense of fear, a sense of inferiority. I mentioned maybe picking a guy or a girl and taking them on, saying, I can do that. But a lot of people, out the gate, their mindset is, well, I just don't think I could ever do that, or, man, I don't, there's that fear of failure, okay? And guys, you need to have a fear of failing in life, not just a fear of failure. If you don't have a fear of something, you're going to fail in life, and that's the worst kind of failure, is to fail in life. Listen, there's a lot of things that hold us back, but I want to really hone in on some specifics here on fear, and one of them might be a fear of talking with people. I've talked about building, and we've also talked about selling every day on the calls. When I got started, there was a genuine fear of talking to people sometimes. I remember when I would call on the phone to set appointments. That was back when we had to set appointments every day, and call on Sunday nights especially, and set up my Monday and Tuesday, which I think is still a good idea if you ever want to do appointments. But I remember I'd get the butterflies in my stomach, and, man, I'd get up on Sunday morning, and I'm like, oh, man, I could just feel that. And, like, in the evening here, I'm going to set appointments, and it was a sense of nervousness. And I would almost procrastinate sometimes and push it off sometimes. And sometimes I'd say, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow on Monday, and I have a bad week. There was a fear. What's funny is when I just dove into it and embraced it and said, you know what, I'm going to sit my butt down, I'm going to go through my leads, I'm going to start to call. And yes, I'd get hung up on a few times. Yes, I'd get cussed at. Yes, I'd have people tell me, don't ever call again. Yes, I would. I also get a lot of people who would say, oh, my gosh, I'm so glad you called. Yeah, we'll be home tomorrow at 10. Come over at 6, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And in about 2, 3, 4 hours, I'd set all my appointments for 2 days, and I go on and write $2-3 a day both days, and I'm set for the week. Okay? But there was a fear every time for at least a year, I think, probably. I remember Scott and I used to joke about his first year in business, and really it's fear, but it's because it's new, and you're trying to get into, you're just not sure about it all yet. There's a sense of, I remember I'd have a $10,000 week, and I'd think the next week, I don't know if I can do that again. Maybe I got lucky. But you got to fight through it. You got to battle, and it's real for all of us. I think one thing different about our company and others is we're transparent here at NSC. And I don't mind telling you guys, I deal with fear just like everybody. Everybody does. But how we deal with the fear is what's different. And how leadership deals with fear is what's different, okay? You have to embrace it and just go through it. You have to fight it. It's what's holding most people back from their dreams, from their destiny, from what they need to do. It's a fear of a lot of things, okay? Maybe you have a fear of selling. I know this is really just a fear of rejection, of having people maybe tell you no, okay? The first time you get in front of someone, you have a fear, a nervousness, and eventually, guys, I want to tell you, especially you new people, it will subside. It will. Eventually, you'll go in these houses like you own the place, and that's the best place to be. That's one of the reasons why so many of our greats, you like the Minister of Insurance, close deals so well, because they're just so confident. It just comes off of them. The client is more likely to buy because they can just sense confidence, which comes off as truthfulness, by the way. That's how the client perceives it. Nervousness comes off as being dishonest, and it's not that you're actually dishonest, but it can be perceived that way, okay? So we have to work on this. Guys, mindset is so important. Listen, my first year in the business, and I keep going back to first year because it's so crucial. If an agent can get through their first year, usually they can make it, okay? If they don't, they're not going to make it, obviously. And so I would motivate myself. I would stop listening to negativity all the time. It's funny because Amy and I got in the car, and yesterday we're driving, and I punched the news network. I think it was ABC was on one of the preset channels, so I hit it, and it was one thing negative after the next. It was negative political stuff, and then it was negativity about the economy, then it was negativity about people dying all over the place, and then there was negativity about some crazy virus that's happening in the world that's going to take out all of humanity. I mean, it was crazy, and I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but it was like, wow, man, if you listen to this every day, I mean, this is going to pull you down. And there's a lot, I used to listen to Glenn Beck all the time, and please don't think that I agree with Glenn Beck on everything, but I was amused and I like listening to Glenn. And, but I had to stop because I've listened to Glenn since I was about 16 probably. And Glenn got so negative there for a while. I mean, literally every other year, the world's ending, the government's taking over, we're all going to die, we need to be hiding in a bomb shelter. I mean, it's crazy. And eventually I'm just like, this guy's crazy. And if you listen to Glenn, I'm not trying to offend you, but I realized patterns there, and there's patterns with people. They're literally going to pull you down. Listen, I realized for me personally, I had to stop listening to that type of person because every other year it's the next thing that's going to take our country down. Every other year it's the next thing that's going to pull the economy down. Every other year it's the next virus, superbug, it's going to kill us all. Now, are some of these things real and legitimate? Yes. But you know what's funny? I've made millions and millions of dollars after I stopped wasting time listening to negative people who are always focused on the next disaster, next thing. And it's funny, it never happens. It never freaking happens. Guys, it's fear, and it's holding us back. What are you listening to? What are you putting into yourself right now? Who are you associating with? There's people you know, maybe friends of yours that you went to college with or high school, and they're just the people that are naysayers all the time. Oh, man, I know the economy looks good right now, but it's just going to crash any moment now. It's going to crash any moment now. You really shouldn't be investing all that money in leads because, man, I'll tell you, you're going to get burned. I know you're making money now, but what if the economy crashes? Guys, we all know someone like that. Come on. I'm going to be as real as I can today because this is what we deal with. My goal is to make highly trained, highly successful individuals that make top 2% money in America, okay? It's not that hard to get into the top 2%. It's not. It's $250,000 a year. I've got guys on the call right now doing it, okay? But I'll tell you one thing, they've analyzed the top 2% in America, and one of the things, they don't focus on the negative. They always focus on the positive. They say that millionaires, they think about life differently. They say a millionaire can drive through a city and sees money everywhere, sees opportunity. And I shouldn't say money because it's not money, it's opportunity. They say, oh, I could do something with that, and I could do something with this, and, man, I could do something with that. And, man, if I had that building right there, if I had that business right there, boy, if I got my hands on that business, I could turn it around. There's a different philosophy among the successful people of the world. They view life differently. Some people say, oh, Tone, that's because they already got money. No, I didn't have money. Mom and Dad are still broke. But you know what? I was going to change it. And you know what changed it for me, guys? A mentor of mine, probably the first mentor of mine for insurance, he was the one that started promoting success in my mind. So, Tony, you can be successful. Tony, you can have whatever you want in life. Tony, you can achieve your dreams. Tony, you can make $1 million a year. Tony, you can do this. And it started to change my philosophy on life, my mindset toward myself, the negativity, the fear. Some people have a fear of being successful. Let's talk about that for a minute. There's a lot of responsibility with money. There's a lot of fear of success, fear of how people might look at you, fear of how people might judge you. Almost everybody who's wealthy gets haters. There's a fear of that. Some people are self-sabotaging because they don't want to be that successful. But I'll tell you guys, it's better on that side than it is on the other, okay? Insurance is that opportunity. I didn't know that. All I had was a belief when I got into this business. But when I finally jumped and said, hey, I'm going to do this, I realized it was the opportunity that led me to where I'm at today. And it really has just continued to get better and better and better. I looked at my renewals the other day, and I'm still getting paid on stuff I wrote, probably 8-9 years ago now. And it's not as much as it used to be. But it's still out there, $400, $500 there coming in a month off of stuff that's old, I don't even know who those people are anymore. A lot of my clients passed away already, but I'm still getting paid on the ones who have kept their policies and going. Because this business will do things for you that nothing else will. Don't let the fear of life, the fear of success, the fear of so many things stop you from being successful. The fear of asking for a deal. And this is a big one we struggle with, and this is where it gets awkward. Some of you are better at this than others. But when it gets down to it and your client looks at you, especially men, men can be more abrasive than women. I think it's funny because, usually women are more caring. They're easier to get along with, easier to deal with when it comes to talking, communicating, etc. So the ideal client is probably 60. I told you guys I could get you women, 60 to 75 years old on Social Security. you guys would line up and probably pay me $60 a lead. But I'll tell you what's funny is you can close the older, maybe disgruntled men who really need to be closed. And they need life insurance just as much. They know it. But sometimes you've got to face the things that they're going to put more opposition. There's fear of that. I know I've dealt with it. I'm like, oh, man, stubborn old man. And they're out there, okay? But I've also closed them, and I've done it to where they love me when I'm done. And it's learning to negotiate the deal. It's learning to work through it. It's learning to position. It's learning to ask, even when the client says no. A lot of times, guys, your client's going to come over the top and say, look, I need time to talk to my daughter, and I'll get back with you. And, you know, I used to say, oh, okay, and I would leave the house, and I'd wonder why I wouldn't get a deal done, you know. And then I started looking at the client. I started asking questions through my presentation, which would give me ammunition at the end. I'd ask them about their health, find out that they've had a heart attack in the past, find out they almost died on the operating. Do you ask these older folks about their health, man, they'll tell you some crazy stories, you know. Guy almost died on the operating table multiple times. They'd bring him back to life. I had one guy, I remember, he was my mobster. Oh, he said he was a mobster. He was joking with me, but Italian guy. And I still remember, some people just get burned in your mind. He was telling me he died on the table multiple times. And he was telling about his near-death experience. It was very real to this gentleman. And, you know, I'm listening fascinated, and his girlfriend's there, and we're talking through it. And we get to the end, and I remember he said something to me about, well, we're going to need to look things over. He looked at her and looked at me, and so we're going to talk about it. And I just looked at him. I said, listen, I said, you've almost died multiple times. You sent this out here. You said best thing you've ever seen already. You like it. You said it's affordable. Let's get this thing in place. Let's get something in place for your family. I don't get back over here very often. I'm in the zip code right now. I'm working here, trying to help folks out here. So let me get this in place for you. And, you know, and he went with it. But it was the confidence that I said it with. It was, you need to get this. You need to stop waiting. All right? It wasn't over the top. It was just, but there's a fear that might be there that says, oh, okay, just go with it. Just go with it. You know, you might make him mad, and he'll never buy off of you. He's never going to buy off you anyways, guys. Let me tell you something. You leave that house, you need to have more fear of leaving the house knowing you're never going to get a deal again than the fear of the client getting angry with you. And very rarely do they get angry with you, especially if you do it correctly. In fact, I got to the point where I would just tell especially the older men who are very stubborn, who always need to think about it. I remember I had this guy, we'll say his name is John, because I don't remember what his name was. We'll say John. I'm sitting there, and John was like 76, and he says, John, I've got to think things over. And I looked at him, I said, John, you said you had cancer 4 years ago. You've had a stroke, and you had something else going on. I said, I know you told the last couple of guys the same thing. So what are we waiting on, John? Let's get this thing in place. I straight up talked to him like that. And I was probably 25 at the time. And, you know, that takes a lot of guts at 25 to talk to say to someone who is quite your senior, you know, that directly. I didn't say it arrogantly, though. I said it directly. You know what he did? He responded. He says, you know what, Tone? Let's do it. You're right. A couple years later, I got a call from his daughter. Wrote him with Foresters. A couple years later, I got a call from his daughter. She had found my business card amongst his things along with a policy, and he passed away. And that was a guy who wanted me to wait. We had the opportunity to pay his family a tremendous amount of money. It was $20,000. But, you know, guys, this stuff is very real, okay? You've got to go ahead and learn to push through your fear for the sake of your clients and for the sake of your own self in this business, okay? Someone else, I say it every day, if you don't close them, a better agent will. You've got to realize the better agent could be you or it could be someone else. Some of you have a fear of chargebacks, scared to write high premiums because you're like, oh, man, if it falls off the books. You know, but some people can't afford or need high premiums. I love it because Bill Ham used to tell me, and I don't know if it's still the truth because he probably didn't run into too many of my policies anymore, but back when he first started in Columbus, and I think several of the guys told me this, they're like, man, I run into your policy, Tony, you left nothing on the table. There's no money there, no add-on potential. It's just gone. And it's because I really try to get it all. I do not want Lincoln Heritage to come in behind me and add a $5,000 policy, which they're so good at doing. If you ever notice, Lincoln's got 2,000 and 1,000 and 5,000 all over the place. Like, they never replace, and they just add to. So there's like 5 policies in the house. I do not want that opportunity for anybody else. I want to get it all while we're there. Don't be afraid to get it all. Ask. Make sure it's affordable, but there's an art to it, and get the right amount. Some of you have a fear of putting the bank draft on the right day, and this is why you're going to go out of business soon. I'm going to be real. We've lost some agents recently. Had some agents roll up some tremendous debt. And you know why? It was their own stupid fault. And I got to get real with you guys there, because I beg you every day on these calls, please draft Mrs. Johnson on the 3rd or the 1st or the 3rd Wednesday of the month. If you want to go out of business real quick, go ahead and set it for the 4th when she asks you to, or the 5th, because that's a great way for you to go out of business, because our clients are cash people. They forget. I've had clients call me up mad because, man, Mrs. Johnson, or you told me you were going to take the money out and you didn't take it out. I took my money out. And then we overdrafted their account. You don't understand the people we work with. Financial planners often struggle with this because they don't understand low-income individuals and clients we have. I had a financial planner one time join us, and he went out of business because he constantly put the draft date on the 7th. He's like, I'm trying to give them time to get their money. I'm like, they don't need time. I'm like, Transamerica spent like $5 million building their Social Security billing system so we could take it 12:01 in the morning. Do you not understand how serious this is? Our clients are good for it. They get their money every month. The government doesn't miss. They want the insurance, but they need their handheld. These are people on check systems, many of them. Okay, I'm not saying everybody can't. You say, well, I've got plenty of clients that are drafting on the 5th and the 7th. I get it. But that's only like 60%. What about the 40% that can't manage their money? Stop fearing that we're going to jack up their accounts. Stop fearing some of you are like, well, I don't want to tell them we're going to do it. I'm like, stop asking, start telling. I don't ask anymore. I'm like, Mrs. Johnson, what day do you get your Social Security? This is how I want every one of you to ask this from now on. What day of the month do you get your Social Security on? Well, I get it on 3rd Wednesday. And I always just suggest it. Like, you either get it on a Wednesday or you get it on the 1st or 3rd. Which one is it? Some people get it on the 1st and the 3rd. I'm like, okay, either one of that's fine in that case. Make sure the check is big enough for the insurance, of course. But I say, no, this is designed to coincide with your Social Security. So just like the government deposits it on the 3rd, you're going to see it at the same time. That's the way it's set up. And I don't give them a choice. Boom, done. There's no fear of that. It's just going to work out. Guys, these little things will make all the difference in the world. You want to get paid. The reason I'm getting renewals still, even almost 8-9 years later, is because I set those drafts for the 3rd. If you go back and you look at my business, you'll see 3rd, 1st. And back then we didn't have Social Security billing with the 3rd Wednesday, so I'd have to set it for like the 24th, 25th, and hope that it would stay. And a lot of times they would miss because of that. Guys, I'm telling you, if there's one thing I can tell you, don't fear putting your clients on the correct day. Put them on the right day. Let the carrier do what they do. Listen to your training. It's kind of, I was watching, last thing I'll let you guys, we'll get into our numbers after this, but I was watching some Navy SEAL training last night, and you guys ever watch America's Book of Secrets? It was fascinating. So a little bit of nerd side on me there, but I was watching the Navy SEAL training stuff on there, and they were talking about how the SEALs got founded, and they were talking about all their training and how people almost die in the training, and some people do die, and how aggressive it is, and how in combat you have to fall back on your training. Otherwise, you will die. And even when it looks like you shouldn't and your senses are telling you to do something else, you have to fall back on your training, because your training is going to get you through. And I guess I look at this stuff like draft days and working on Mondays as part of your training, man. And yeah, you could do it something else. It might work out, but it also probably won't. You got to fall back on your training, and training is the little details you hear every day on the call. Don't try to do it another way. A lot of people tell me, I'm going to go do this, go do that. I'm going to try to add this into my presentation and try to do this. Guys, if you see someone making the kind of money, we're going to hear from like Tom Mitchell today, for instance. You hear from Tom Mitchell, and you see Tom Mitchell writing the kind of numbers he's writing and what he's doing. Don't try to do something else. Do exactly what Tom Mitchell does. I promise you, you'll be successful.